Alright then, new game. Bandit class for max stealth and backstabbing. We are ready. After some spins, I took my dead maiden's finger and celebrated it with another spin. Opening the door, just heading down this bridge, I raised my white flag before even seeing the boss and jumped off the cliff. Game awarded my death with some drinks, so not all is lost. After that, I headed on into Limgrave and then Gatefront Side of Grace to acquire my ride. Now, while I make my way to the Grace, I always loved Eleonora's Poleblade, but after doing an arcane playthrough with the Mariah's Executioner's Sword, I had no motivation to do another one with this weapon. However, when the DLC was announced, I was like, alright, let's go, maybe I can show off my Poleblade in the DLC, and I decided to make this playthrough a YouTube video as well. So shout out to the DLC for being my motivation to make a YouTube video. Right then, talking to this lady grants me my ride, and now the real run begins. The first trip I took on the torrent was to this architectural masterpiece under which we can find Yura. Since I'm not about to do his questline, I decide to run him into the ground in order for Eleonora to invade in Atlantis. He doesn't like that though, and denies the idea with a hard penetrating blow. However, remembering my core values as a bandit, I decided that I'm gonna be the backstabber, and after a few of those, Mr. Yura is down. And he also gave me his cool sword. We take those. I also decided to save our pot friend, however I decided to kill him later because I would rather take the stronger version of the talisman. Since we are heading into the DLC, I want all the damage that I can extract out of each item that I will be using. So Alexander gets to live this time. Next, I started to prepare to get to Altus, so I can challenge Eleonora to get the weapon, and the fastest way to get there is using Dectus medallions. You could also go and challenge Magmamorn, but I didn't want to really fight any bosses without the weapon, so I decided to take the Dectus medallion route. To get the first half of it, I made my way over to the Third Church of America, where I also grabbed the Sacred Tear and the Flask of Physique. And after doing that, I headed north of the church in the water, and I spiraled into this portal which threw me out in far east north Caelid. From there I headed down south, grabbed the golden seed, stared at the dragon's ass which smelled like a certain death at my level, so I turned around and took the detour on the left till this path, from where it's a straight shot to this Grace. Behind this Grace, I used the power of Windman to fly high, stole the last remains of the dead from this grave, and headed towards the minor Erdtree, where Windman waited me once again. After that, it's a straight shot to the Grace that is in front of Fort Feroth, pardon my pronunciation, where one of the Dectus half is located. Taking the optimum racing line, I managed to avoid everything and reach the ladder without getting affected by the mouth farts off the bat, and grab the Dectus half from the chest. I skipped everything in the actual fort. I did not go for the Sorcio as I did not want to fuck with the big rat, so I just teleported out. But I did decide to kill the giant dragon. However, I decided to bail out to the Grace just before she can die, so I have her alive just in case I need some more levels, as I'm not really going to be fighting a whole lot of stuff. After that, I went back to the Third Church of America and started heading south towards Fort Height to get the other half of Dectus. On the way, I picked up the map piece to make navigation a bit easier. I also picked up extra tiers for the physique, and then I continued further south and arrived at the fort. Over there, I grabbed the golden seed, avoided Mr. Big Golden Helmet, and started heading up the stairs. This old man's beauty mesmerized me a little bit, and I lost track of the platforms. Avoid the rats, survived, got back up, and decided to kill the man for the mesmerizing looks. And then I skipped past his buddy and went up this ladder to grab the other half. And after that, With both the medallions ready, I went over to this spot from the grace where we got the torrent to get the Ash of War Golden Vow by killing the knight riding this horse. I did not want to level up my faith to level 25 to be able to use the incantation, which is slightly better, but I will keep that for the DLC. Upon getting the Ash of War, I went to Stormveil Shack Grace and headed north to skip the Stormveil for now so I can get into Liurnia. Skipping basically everything and following this path, I arrived at King's Realm Ruins, and behind this fake wall sits Mr. E.G., who promises Somberstone 1 to 4 for the weapon upgrades. Getting his grace, I headed to this spot over here where I used the Windman once again to get on top and headed towards the Grand Lift of Dectus. I stood in the circle and connected both the Dectus halves, which showed the statues how bright my future is, and they gave me a ride to the Highlands. I head straight towards the site of grace in front. From there, I headed north to Second Church of America, where the lady awaits me. Eleonora, being the annoying incant spammer she is not an easy fight, and so I decided to avoid a head-on collision. I enter the church to trigger the invasion, narrowly escape the guard dog, and run towards the cliff. After making sure she saw me, I run further, and since I have never done this cheese before, I tried looking for a spot from where I can bait her into falling. I find this nice ledge, and was sure she will jump to get to me and fall, but instead she decides to cook me for her lunch, and then works her way around to me. Scared that I had failed, I did some panic rolls but eventually fell, but Eleonora, in an attempt to stop gravity from stealing the kill, jumped right behind me and died as well. The long death screen made sure I got confirmation of her death and the rewards, and lo and behold, we have the Poleblade ready to go. I headed over to EG, bought first 3 stones, and leveled the Poleblade to level 3 before I ran out of money. However, I thought this will be a good opportunity to test the weapon, so I went over to the gold-plated horse rider, which is conveniently at the very first grace in Limgrave. And I destroyed him. That gave me enough money to buy the 4th stone, and I took my weapon to level 4. I then headed over to Redmane Castle, to this portal, which is now activated as Radon Festival is now on because I went into Altus, and then I went past everything, ignored Mr. Jaren for now, and then got the Somber 7 to take my weapon to level 5. I did Wari's quest to access Moguin Palace early on because the only other way to get to that place is from Consecrated Snowfield, and that requires a couple more boss kills, which I felt like were a little too unnecessary. He asked me to head to Stormveil and kill Godric. I took his request to my heart and went ahead and reached Stormveil Castle. I decided to summon Rogier as a companion for the Margit fight because me and Margit, let's be honest, just don't get along very well. And he was very helpful for the fight, as this was not one of my cleanest Margit fight, but it's fine, we take those, he's not really the focus of this video. But that meant now I have access to the Stormveil Castle. I took the front gate, and I guess Gostok was having his laughs while watching me. Just stop it, guys! After some troubles, I managed to get to the room with Nefeli as planned to summon her, but Close call with the birds over there, and I forgot to finish talking to Nefeli in my adrenaline rush, and had to fight Godric solo. But then, I remembered a blue lady with 4 arms gave me a bell that lets me summon the voice. And so, I went on to fight Mr. Godric. This guy talks a little too much, so I'm just gonna skip this. After Godric's death, I went back to Ware, who just asked me to go and talk to the Fingers. After I did that, Ware moved to a new location in Liurnia, and I told him Fingers were no fun. He happily gives his own to try out, and I go hunting Magnus in the Altus Plateau to progress Ware's questline further. After an average PvP fight, I managed to kill Magnus, who also gave me a Somber 6, which I need for my weapon upgrades, which you won't be able to get if you just invaded a player. I then went back to Ware, and I told him his finger was fun to use, and then he gives me a cloth that needs to be soaked in blood. I headed over to 4 Bell Ferries and took the imbued key at the topmost tower and went to the tower below that says Precipice of Anticipation, and used the key to enter the portal. This spit me out at the starting area, and after a Beyblade battle with Grafty, I went over to my dead maiden to soak the cloth in her blood. Taking the soaked cloth back to Ware, he does something to my nail and grants me with this medal, asking me not to use it. However, we're done taking orders from him, and I use the item to get teleported to Mohgwyn Palace. I just grabbed the map piece and the first grace for now, as I am sure Mohgwyn will not let go of his brother that easy, and I need some more levels into my weapon and myself to be able to challenge him. So instead, I turn my focus on to General Radahn. Before challenging him, however, I cut these big heads and grabbed Flame Grant Me Strength incantation at Fort Gale and 2 Fingers Heirloom, allowing me to cast the incantation. While at it, I also grabbed Somber 8 and 9 near the Divine Tower in Caelid, which will come in use later. Entering Radahn's arena, I walked away from him till he gone, so I don't have to deal with his bullshit arrows from a distance. After that, I summoned any friends I could, and once they got him busy, I started my ritual. Seizing my opportunity, I went in and Poleblade did the rest. A stance break at the right time meant I can slash away a massive chunk of his health before he enters phase 2. Now, since I carried the crew in phase 1, I decided to step back a little and let them finish him off. But when things started looking a bit I decided to go in and use my kukri skills to help them out. And one of the bosses needed to access DLC is down. All me, guys. All me. Easy. After killing Radon, I went to the lady that sits next to the fingers to get the 3rd talisman slot. Then I went to the Stillwater Cave in Liurnia, where defeating the boss gave me Winged Sword insignia. Then, I progressed Millicent's quest till she appears at Windmill, and then killed her to get the prosthesis. This one hurt a bit. Then I headed towards the capital, so I can kill Golden Godfrey to get the 4th talisman slot. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Draconic Tree Sentinel, so I decided to just use mouth farts to cheese him. You don't have to follow everything I do. Or me at all. After entering Landell, I decided to give the skip a shot. But my lazy ass didn't feel like looking it up on YouTube, and I gave up after 2 very, very hard attempts, and then just gathered my stuff and went the right way to the boss, ignoring everything on the way. I did my ritual for the boss fight outside the gate, and then Mr. Piss Godfrey did his inside the gate. However, with my sheer determination, second fight went okay. and Piss Godfrey down, and I get my 4th talisman slot. Now next up on the list is Mr. Moog, and I wanted to make this fight as easy for me as possible, so I decided to jump down this well to get to the underworld. There I put on my heavy suit, ignored everything on the way, and jumped to the bottom of this pit. Ignored the lobster using panic roll skill, and turned right into this broken wall to get the grace in order to reset the lobster. After that, I became a true bandit once more, sneaked to get the shackle, then I cheesed the lobster using the mouth farts again, so I can grab the somber 7 in front of him. After that, I went over to easy, upgraded the weapon to level 9. Then I went to Mogwin Palace, made my way to in front of Mog's arena. Before the lift, I called upon this dude to fight me solo, and I soloed him hard. After that, I just snuck my way around the rest of them to grab the Ancient Dragon Stone and upgraded my weapon to level 10, but this time I decided to go to healed for some reason. Now, with everything set in place, I was like, I am ready to challenge Moog. Okay man, you can keep him. Well, actually, not okay, because this video would be incomplete if I don't kill him, and I need to touch Mikola to get into the DLC. So, I came into this lake for the white mask, which should give me a little bit more extra damage, and I want to be able to do as much damage as I can in the first phase. Killing the dude gave me the mask, and I also decided to activate Godric's rune and go grab some rune arcs so I can use it effectively. Before fighting Moog, I did my ritual, almost forgot to use the rune arc, summoned a friend for distraction. When Moog was in place, I went ham on him. Timing the shackle just right allowed me to do a massive amount of damage in his first phase. He recovered a little bit and then unintentionally kills my friend. Rude. Lag! Moog comes close to end me on this run, however that little bitty of health that I got from using the rune arc saved me. And I just spam him with a couple more R1s, another bleed proc, and Moog is down. Mikola is mine now, and I am gonna be waiting at this place till the DLC finally becomes available. I'll be playing it with other character first so that I can test out all the new weapon classes and all the new weapons that are available, and then once I have, scoped around the DLC, I'll be probably going back with the weapons that I used in my main playthrough or my first playthrough and seeing how they fare in the Land of Shadows. Till then, see ya!